Welcome, champions, to the next overview and tier list ranking featuring the newest champion. This is where we'll break down their mechanics and place them in my overall tier list for every champion in the game. This time is a little different, however, as this is the first time I'll be covering a brand new evergreen champion. What does that mean? This new champion is not tied to a timed event, but rather the base game permanently, and is locked behind a challenging adventure variant that will be waiting for you to undertake when you are ready. In this video, I'll be covering not only his mechanics and tier list ranking, but his adventures challenge as well. So let's dive into Commodore Krux, the lawful good GIF fighter in Seed 4, who serves as a DPS, support, and tanking champion. With his base attack, he will fire a pistol shot at a random target. As basic as it gets. His ultimate will have him throw out a grenade at the enemy with the most health, which then explodes, dealing bud damage to all enemies in a medium radius and knocking all enemies hit back a short distance. And nothing too crazy here. His bread and butter formation ability for supporting your formation is through All Hands on Deck, where he increases the damage of those in his column and those in the rearmost column. If those happen to be the same thing, he still only applies it once. This can scale quite well. He will increase the effectiveness of this through Battle Stations, where he will increase the damage bonus of All Hands on Deck for each second the champions are in the current area, stacking multiplicatively to a max stack count of 100. So simply existing and surviving will increase his output by quite a bit. This will be even further increased through Experienced Sailor, where he will buff All Hands on Deck for each adventure, variant, and patron variant you have completed within the Light of Xerxes campaign, stacking multiplicatively. So be sure you get on completing all of those. He will also increase your formation's damage with Starfarer's Spyglass, where upon completing a new area, he will raise his spyglass to spot an enemy from the next area, where he will mark an enemy type as his favored foe, until another area is completed. His favored foe will take 100% more damage from all sources. And yes, that means click debuff as well. The bigger problem here is that there is no form of scaling up this formation ability. No gear, feats, specializations, nothing. Just a flat 100% increase, which is minor in terms of the math for this game. His tanking role comes in the form of Batten Down the Hatches, where he increases the health of all other champions by a percent of his max health for each adventure, variant, and patron variant you have completed within the Light of Xerxes campaign, stacking additively. The scaling isn't crazy, but still important because it also increases the healing received on those champions by the same amount. Lastly, for a little sprinkle of availability, we have Wild Space Lover, where he is usable for any Xerxes adventure regardless of restriction. His specializations are various ways to further increase the damage of your formation, but not all of them are tied to All Hands on Deck. Nautical Knockback will increase All Hands on Deck, and make his base attack also knock back his targets a short distance. Take the Helm will flat increase the damage of champions with a magical based attack. And Foe of Xerxes will increase All Hands on Deck by a lesser amount, but stacking additively for each favored foe defeated in the current area, resetting when the area is changed. His equipment is what you would expect of the current trends for his roles. A slot for health, All Hands on Deck, the 2 formation abilities that boost All Hands on Deck, 1 for his specializations, and 1 for ultimate cooldown. His feats are a bit lacking, but serve their purpose. 1 for all of the following: All Hands on Deck, Battle Stations, Specializations, All Champion Damage, and Overwhelm Increase. And that's it. So, what about this adventure he's locked behind, and the variant required to be completed to unlock him? In the Light of Xerxes campaign, you're going to want to find the Topola's Tower adventure, complete it, and then complete its first variant, Krux's Speed Run, which will be a good test to see if you're ready to unlock him or not, as it's basically just an easier version of the next step, which is the animated GIF variant. Haha, I see what you did there. It will be a challenging variant to complete, as you will need to reach area 750. While every 2 minutes of real-time play, a random champion is transported away, removing them from your formation and then becoming unavailable for the rest of the adventure. Also, once you place a champion, they cannot be removed from the formation once they've been added, but they can be moved within the formation. So choose wisely. Fire Breath potions cannot be used during the entirety of the adventure, and click damage has no effect after area 100. All the while, Commodore Krux is in your formation, taking up a slot. You're going to need a fair amount of champions to select from, and be mindful whether or not you want to rely on your best buffing supports early or hope you can slot them later. With challenges like this, it's often a good idea to only slot what you need early on. However, as this variant works on real time and isn't progression based, it's a bit different. Maybe rely on click damage or a single champion to be gobbled up for as long as you can. But when you're ready to go for it, you are going to want as much speed as possible. This is very much where speed champions and using speed potions will really shine, as that accelerates game speed, but the 2-minute timer is based on real time, not game speed. And keep in mind, you can see the timer right on Commodore Krux, so you know when it's going to happen. So it would be smart to just prepare as much as you can. For example, if you have access to Briv with some decent jumps, it would be smart to scale up those stacks all the way to potentially reaching area 750, just in case he's never snatched up. Likely pre-save your starting formation in your Modron core with Commodore Krux's position in mind, so you can start off right away with exactly who you want to start with, if anyone. If you get really close, don't be afraid to pop some health and damage potions along the way. And remember, who it takes from you is random, so maybe you'll have better RNG on your next attempt if you're just getting so close but not quite there. His availability is average to decent, only available for 2 patrons, but available for every day 1 Trials of Restrictions for Tiamat, while also having that Wild Space Lover, making him available for any Xerxes adventure. While he himself is a DPS, his kit isn't really meant to excel with him as your DPS, though he is one of the very few who will double dip from Rhea's Celestial Champion, being both lawful and good. And as a ranged DPS, he is one of the few who can be buffed by Solok. But you will generally want to use him as a support for another DPS. But that being said, he's a pretty decent fit for a lot of DPS out there. As a DPS with a positional formation ability, he's great for Artemis, though he's in a competing seat with Kent, who is also excellent for Artemis and has better availability. But his positional formation ability will actually perform much better than Kent's. His positional is easy to work with to pair him with Warduke. Just don't have Warduke in his column or in the back column when using him. He has 18 strength, so he's great for Krond. And his exotic tag for Ashara is useful for some of the ways you can build her bonds. All around, for an evergreen, he's pretty damn useful. I mean, really, for matching the current power threshold, and for his rolls, and how well he melds into just about all of the DPS out there. He's high A tier. Thanks for coming around today. Shoot that like, sub, and bell for me. Leave a comment on what you think about Krux, and how you're faring with that variant of his. But never forget the most important thing. Have a hell of a time out there, champion.